Basically, to set up this drill, you have 6 offensive players with about 3 on each side, and then you have 5 defensive players, like a back 4 in the middle, and then a holding number 6 midfield type of player. To set up the drill, you have some goals in the middle of the drill right here, and then you also have some goals on the outside where if the defensive team wins the ball, they can go ahead and attack those goals. So basically the goal of this drill is for the offensive players to keep possession of the ball, connecting passes, and trying to even break down the defense by having through passes between the lines. And this is something that the defensive team is trying to prevent, while at the same time still managing to put pressure on the offensive team. So there's a lot of different ways that you could actually use a setup like this to actually execute different variations of this drill. In this variation, the offensive team was trying to connect 10 passes in a row, and if they were able to connect 10 passes in a row, then they could go ahead and try to score on one of these goals right here. At the same time, the defensive team was trying to win the ball back, and as soon as they win the ball back, they could go ahead and attack one of the goals on the outside. You could leave the drill just like this and award 1 point for each goal that the offensive team scores and 1 point for each goal that the defensive team scores, or you could add some more wrinkles, some more ways to score points to pretty much mix up this drill and make it more interesting. For example, you could award 1 point to the offensive team if they are able to make a through pass through the defensive lines, and this is really going to put an emphasis for the defense to keep blocking off those passing lanes and keeping the spaces nice and tight so that the offensive team cannot play the ball through. If you do play with this variation, it might be a good idea to award more points to the defensive team if they manage to score a goal, so maybe 3 points for scoring a goal if they win the ball and actually manage to score on the outside. Or you could perhaps, depending on the level of skill of your players, award a point every time the defensive team wins the ball, or a point every time the offensive team connects a certain amount of passes. So as a coach, there's a lot of different ways you could adjust this drill with the same setup to award points in different ways, depending on what your goals are as a coach, what you want your team to work on, and of course the skill level of your players. I thought this drill was really great because it really teaches the offensive team to be patient, working the ball, moving the ball around, passing and moving, and also looking for those openings to hit those passes through the defensive lines, which is a really, really applicable skill in game situations as well, being patient, waiting for that final pass, and then splitting the defense. And on the defensive side, this is a really, really great drill to work on cutting off the passing lanes, maintaining your defensive shape as a back 4, and also working together with that midfielder that's trying to force the play one way or apply pressure, and then pounce on the ball in those situations where perhaps the offensive team takes a poor touch, picking and choosing the moments where you can actually go in and try to win the ball back. This drill is really, really demanding for that defensive holding midfield player because they have to run back and forth depending on which side the ball is on to try to put pressure on both sides. So it's also sort of some elements of conditioning and fitness, especially for that midfield player.